Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. As always, we want to thank you guys for your support over on Patreon. Again, we couldn't do it without you guys over on Patreon, which thankfully is ever growing. This is going to go up on Hearts Home. Now, each of the YouTubes have specific playlists that you can go into, and so we were starting a Goddesses of the World series. Who are they really? Because again, we are living in the end of a dark age in which the system has twisted and distorted everything, including who certain beings were in reality, in order to benefit itself. And so much is really coming out at this point in time. It's really, really just fascinating to see. So we're going to be talking about Freya. And who was this Vanir goddess? And we have, again, talked about this before. We've talked more perhaps about the wars between the Asuras and the Devas, but we also have the wars in the Norse mythology between the Vanir and the Asir. And the Asir are associated by many, and we do feel there is a connection to the ones that we would call the Anunnaki. And you got to realize, too, even though you have different words being used in different parts of the world to describe certain beings, and there is a tendency to always, lump things together. I've seen many channels out there, many huge channels say, okay, Enki is Poseidon, and Enki is also... gosh, I'm having a blank there. I'm having a real blank there. Isis's counterpart.
Isis's counterpart.
Yeah,
Osiris.
you see, Osiris. Yes, I'm used to going into the Egyptian, Osir. And so, yeah, Osiris, they'll say Enki is Osiris, Enki is Poseidon, Enki is Shiva, and no, not necessarily the case. Sometimes we are talking about the same beings using different languages. Other times these are different beings that have similar tendencies. Other times these are different beings that have usurped the status position of other beings purposefully, so that people in our age cannot tell, exactly who is who. And this is what they've done, because again, history is written by the victors. And as Cindy has alluded to so many times, we've seen, growing up, cowboys have the white hats. They're the good guys. Cowboys are the good guys. The Indians are the bad guys. Cowboys and Indians, right? And then we realize, the ones that we call Indians, the native peoples of the Americas, were genocided by the Europeans coming in. No, it was a tale that was given to us by the victors. What's interesting, and especially with Freya, is that she is one that's of the Vanir. And the Vanir are more associated with nature and the natural way of things. They were the older gods and goddesses, so to speak. And the Asir that came in took over preeminence and usurped positions. And again, this is the same thing that we see with the Anunnaki, and we see it through culture after culture all around the world. What's interesting about her is in some mythologies, she's taken into the Asir Anunnaki pantheon from the Vanir pantheon. And, yet at the same time, we do see, when we go back and look into the various Hindu tales, the Asuras and the Devas, the never-ending battles between the Asuras, or those that are more in service to self. They show very selfish tendencies where they go and interact with humans. They put themselves up as the kings and the queens and the rulers. Whereas the Devas, they would just simply come teach us the ways of the universe, show us things that can help us in the physical realm, but also in the spiritual realm. And they wouldn't necessarily impose themselves on us like you see with the asuras. And so I feel that we're talking about similar takeovers. There's been so many different groups of beings, and the reality is, again, every time we talk about gods and little g, we're really just talking about beings that are more evolved technologically and not necessarily spiritually, but technologically and also in their understanding of how the universe works. Most of them do again not really come from Earth, because Earth was Tiamat. Tiamat was destroyed in this war, but they salvaged part of it to create Earth. And Earth was created out of the remnants of Tiamat. And Earth was reseeded with life from those that we would call the Galactic Federation. And when we talk about that first reseeding and the bringing back of life, Earth was a station, and this is going a little bit off on a tangent, but just to give you background, it was a place of refuge for refugees from this intergalactic war, of which there were many refugees from many planetary systems in need of a place that was safe where they could live. And this is what Earth was. We were originally, again, a migrant, immigrant planet, taking in beings from all over and of different backgrounds. And this is what we see with the different backgrounds, different philosophies, different ways of looking at things, and different predispositions towards other beings. So when you're talking about the Vanir, they tend to be a little bit more in line with the original plan, where the Aesir are more warlike. They are more out for conquest. But again, even within that, you will find certain Aesir that will want to break free and to grow. And so even though Thor, and again, not to go too much into Thor, even though Thor technically would be put with the Aesir, he is up in higher fourth density right now and working on improving himself spiritually. And so, a more benevolent being, again, we can overcome our darker tendencies, because, again, we are certainly all mixed breeds from many different places, many different backgrounds in us. It's really about us and our choices. But when we see Freya, we want to give you what Cindy taps into, the Akashic records, and it taps into actually talking to Freya, contacting Freya, which she's able to do, and able to give you not what you're going to find in books out there, but directly from the source and from the Akashic records. Who is Freya?
Freya, in short, she is a great protector. She's a great divine protector of many, and she has worked very long and very hard on her abilities to protect so many. She's also tied into Isis. There is a soul stream similarity going on between her and Isis, and it's just the different parts of the world, but these maidens are seated. Now, it's my understanding they've been noted as shield maidens, and there's a couple of energies to this. There is a physical protection, but the majority of Freya's job is to protect in the other realms, in the higher realms. So if her partner, or if those who that she is in charge over, if they are going to go out to battle, it is up to Freya to protect them in as many ways as possible. And I think you guys have seen, through the power of prayer, through the power of meditation, through the power of asking, depending on how you do these things in the 3D realm, other things happen in the etheric realm that then also affect the 3D realm. So it's very much a back and forth of energy. So she's a power, you could call her a very powerful shaman, because she's tying the worlds together. She's tying the 3D worlds together with the etheric worlds together, and she's putting out an energy that is going to be advantageous to her partner and those that she is in charge of protecting.
I don't want to interrupt you, but touching on, because this originally came about when we were doing our morning routine, checking the news, and things were popping up about the Valkyries, and I played a piece of music, and said to Cindy, I said, I love this piece. I love Wagner's, the Flight of the Valkyries. It's just so powerful. And now the depiction that was going on was one of a much more Anunnakian, draconian way, very, very sexual, very, very gratuitous violence. And the reality is, who are the Valkyries? Because you see them as these warrior goddesses. You might equate them to Amazons, Amazonians, Amazons of legend. And we've talked about Queen Califia, and we could bring up her again and other videos, because she is real. And again, once a being is comes into incarnation, there is always that being going on, as long as the universe is rolling in one state, in one way, shape, or form. And yet the consciousness itself is always exploring the different realms. But the Valkyries are not exactly what's depicted, because again, think about who controls the world right now. These demonic entities that love war, that glorify war, glorify service to country, which again, countries are defined on their boundaries. Boundaries are ever changing. They're truly arbitrary, and utterly they're meaningless. The only meaning is given to what we give them power-wise. So in reality, the Valkyries are something a little bit different than what's depicted. And so when you talk about shield maidens and things like that, they truly are using their shielding. And it's so fascinating too, because in one Nordic myth there, Loki, who is an Aesir, and he's the mischievous one, he's a troublemaker in many ways, but there are many troublemakers when you get down to it. He is making fun of the Vanir's magic in a way. And what we have gotten is that the beings that have agreed to go into the Borg, they don't have the abilities that those that stay free and clear the natural order. They don't have the capacity for true magic, or if you want to call it magic, or utilizing the programming of the original Matrix to create your own reality just through intent and through an act of will. And they are very, very they are jealous of that, but they've given that up. They rely on technology. And as they rely on technology, what you use, you will make stronger. What you don't use withers and dies. Well, that's what is going on and what has gone on with them. They cannot utilize the abilities that those have that are still in the natural order. And so the shield maidens were shielding the warriors. They were shielding their spouses, their loved ones, the ones that were protecting them out in the field through the use of intent and magic.
Right. That's the difference that you probably won't read in any books. I mean, that's the information that came to me, that these shield maidens are very, very unique. And there's a lot of over-sexualizing them, which I think really takes away from their status. I mean, these are amazing beings that have worked very hard for their abilities. So to just make that much of them, I don't know. It's just something that I feel takes away from them, because they are absolutely amazing. They have big love. They definitely are mystics, so to speak. And what I like to do in this work is look at the other dimensions and look at the other realms and look at the other times and say, well, how does this play into our 3D world that we have now? I mean, how does this benefit us? How does this help us live in the world that we are living in now? And I can tell you, there's many couples out there where there is a shield maiden, and then there is a protector. So there's the male protector in the 3D and a shield maiden that protects the man in the other realms as well. And there's a partnership that goes on in that. There's like a dance that goes on here in this dark age, in this very, very dark place where it's so hard to see. There's a lot of protection going on when it comes to men and women. There's a lot of gratitude that goes on, you know, in the equal sense. It's like, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for protecting me, because this world is very difficult to live in. So it's that exchange of gratitude which helps a lot of these couples grow stronger. Now, not everyone is going to choose to incarnate and have a couple where there's going to be this protection, because we choose to go in different directions. There's lifetimes where Mike might be a monk and just live in a cave for a couple lifetimes, and I'm sure I'm off doing something too. But we come together during these dark times to help one another through these times. And you can tell when someone really, really loves someone so much, you know, they take on, you know, whatever effects or defects that they might have, and they help them grow through it. So you can see these couples, and they're very, very special. And you know, and I'm sure that they feel it within them too. So we have this going on in this 3D realm, in this dark Kali Yuga. We still have these relationships where men and women are protecting each other. Now, I do think it's sad. A lot of times I do feel like the masculine, feminine energy is being pitted against each other in a lot of ways right now. And really, I think some of the most powerful energies are men and women who bond together and they take on this world together. And that's because of their protective qualities, both in the etheric realm and in the 3D realm.
Absolutely. Here we see her depicted riding on a chariot pulled by cats. And again, Cindy caught and pulled on this connection between her and, say, you know, Isis and Bast, the Egyptian cat goddess, because, again, it's the same lineage as what we're talking about. You know, you have to realize there are connections, but they're not the exact same beings.
Right. I mean, everybody's an individual. You know, we came here all made of Source, but to explore ourselves. So we are Source exploring ourselves, and Source couldn't do that without actually giving of itself. So we have all the same abilities that Source has, but we are exploring different realms. So yes, there's a lot of these different beings. And when I see them and I feel them, it's like I can put them into certain streams. I can put them into certain ponds, certain pools together, because they have very similar abilities, yet slightly different. We did just talk about the diamond the other day and how the diamond has so many different facets to it, like each one reflecting its own unique beauty.
Yeah, in Norse mythology, again, the Aesir Vanir War dominates a lot of the mythos. And again, Aesir and Asur, they resonate. There's something there that resonates. And really all you have to do is look at it as the ones that are more of the warlike mentality, dominated by lust, dominated by greed, dominated by, you know, never having enough, always wanting something more, you know, reaching the pinnacle, becoming the king, becoming the queen. But your kingdom's not the biggest, so we need a bigger one. We got to go invade that one. And the reality is, this is what has been controlling the system in this dark age. We're coming out of the Kali Yuga, and we are going back into the Bronze Age. We're not going straight to the Golden Age. Individual souls always can move their way up to what we would call a Golden Age. But as far as shifting the paradigm for the whole planet, it's one Yuga at a time. And that's basically what we're looking at. Now, in the Dark Age compared to the Bronze Age, there's a big difference, because in the Dark Age, we might not completely realize it because we're in the dark, but humanity has been utilized as total slaves. And we don't have the freedom to openly interact with all these other beings that are there. They are there, they're around us. We are basically just confined to this very, very narrow scope. We have a very, very, very small little porthole to look out of compared to what happens in the Bronze Age. Everything opens up. The perspective opens up. And it's interesting, too, to note that, again, when you look at this war, there's, as in all wars, there's periods of truce. Okay, or agreements, but then agreements end. And then that means what? Well, there could be a better agreement or there could be another war. And that's exactly where we are right now at this point in time. Everything is it's up in the air. And it's really up to each one of us to spread our light and to understand that we have an important role to play. Yes, you can move up higher as an individual very easily, relatively speaking, compared to the planet as a whole, or any one group of people deciding to ascend. There have been instances and times where whole tribes have disappeared. And there's no signs of bloody conflict. No, there's no bones. There's no war. Where did they go? They ascended. They're no longer here. And we could look to the Tibetan rainbow body and see individual cases as well. But we're coming to the point where we are going to know we are not alone, and that our myths and legends are based on fact and reality. And these beings that we think of as the gods of myth, well, they're not gods of myth. They're in reality, these are real beings. Yes, our understanding of them may be a little bit distorted, but they're very real beings. And no, none of these are the creator of this universe either. So, again, titles get usurped. Just look at when they announce a king or a queen. They will do all these lists of titles of grandeur. It's all an ego trip. But the reality is, no king or queen was ever the creator of the earth, or again, any other world besides in their own mind, besides in their own consciousness, because we are creating our own world as we go, so to speak. But there is the collective. So those of you that are drawn to this type of thing, you're here probably to shift the paradigm. You're here to help humanity get outside of that dark age and come to a much more expanded understanding.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we start to wake up and we realize that we have these abilities and we decide to start to develop these abilities, you have a sense of understanding and being drawn toward the truth. And there's like this magnetic energy inside of you that pulls the truth to you. So you know it when you hear it. And here's the thing. I mean, when we talk about resonating, resonating is good. And you can say, well, I heard that and I resonate with it. But are you resonating with it because it's what you were taught, or are you resonating with it because it is true? So I think that's the distinguishing part that we have to get past when it comes to things. Sometimes I hear the truth and I don't like it. that you could say, I don't resonate with that, but I know it's true and I don't like it. And that's, I think, where we need to get. It's like we need to see past that facade and past the indoctrination. Takes time, and you're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. We all make mistakes. But without those mistakes, we can't learn. So if you're one who has made a plethora of them, you're doing really good.
Yeah. The nature of, even when you look to the myths, some will say these beings look all too human. Well, that's because that is the natural way things are throughout the universe. We are all fighting the internal battle between being the real, true, highest possible, best person we can be. What does that look like for us? Because each one of us is a unique facet, a very, very, very distinct light from the other. And, giving into the lower tendencies, the more, again, egoic side of things, to say, so to speak. Which are we going to serve? Are we going to be looking to serve the the highest possibility for the greater good of all involved. Because when we do that, we not only end up blessing others, it ends up being a blessing for us in a karmic sense, so to speak. So, with these beings, they're very real people. They are very real people. Yes, they could be in some ways looked at as personifications of archetypal forces. And when you do mantras to certain beings, you will find, like if you're doing the mantra to Ganesh, it'll strengthen your root chakra. That's why we start with Ganesh typically. And strengthening the root chakra is going to help us be grounded so we can move upward from there. Again, a tree with roots that don't extend deeply into the ground can be easily toppled. So we always want to root and ground ourselves and build upwards. But recognize, again, it's all about that so-called Native American tale of two wolves. Which wolf are you going to feed? The dark one or the light one? It is a metaphor, but it is a reality also, and that reality extends up through, certainly all the way through fourth density and up into the higher realms as well.
Mm-hmm. So, today, does Freya have anything to say? And it's a resounding yes. It's just like a huge yes. She would like to speak. So I'm hoping I can translate it good for you guys. And I always get kind of teary and emotional when I channel. So it's hopefully it'll come through okay. But in these times, if you are one who feels like you are a protector, not just of men, but of women, if you have people and you feel protective and you feel strong, you might almost even have like almost a masculine type of energy, but not completely, but a very strong energy. And you feel a desire to protect others. This is Freya's energy being offered to you to help assist you in these times, because we are in a position where we have a lot of light anchors and they're in a position to protect others. And Freya was very, very good at this. This is what she did. She shielded not only her partner, but others, their spouses, their loved ones, their families. And you might find yourself in this position having this desire to oversee others, to help protect others. And this is about developing your energy. So Freya is there. If you want to develop this ability even more, tap into her, think about her, meditate on her, and just allow yourself to unfold. I would say the most important thing to do with her is the silent meditation with a candle, because then you're allowing those abilities to ground, root, take root, and then expand. And whatever you do naturally that comes, like if you have an instinct to check on a friend, check on that friend, because this is what she did. She just had the ability to reach out and tune in and attach to, send protection to. She was very much a protector, not in just this world, but in the cosmos as well. She has very much like a Mars Rahu type of energy. You put those two together and you have a lot of courage. You have a lot of courage and abilities in a lot of different realms. So tap into her, tap into those. Allow her energy to kind of permeate you, because she's going to show you how she did things. So I'm glad I got through that without crying. But yes, this is what Freya wants to extend her hand, extend herself, extend her being to teach those here in this very, very dark Kali Yuga, where things can be so confusing and difficult and scary. Let's say it, might as well face it. It's a concerning time when you're faced with not having food, with being poisoned. Every turn you make, there's something wrong out there in the 3D. And she has the ability to shield and protect those who need it.
Absolutely. So we hope you guys got something from this. Look forward to your comments. Look forward to suggestions. What else do you want to go deep diving into here? Along this line of thinking, who else do you want to know more about? Much love, much gratitude as always. May you all be blessed and protected. Namaste.
Namaste.